let's talk about the good things about the 4Runner. And I'm going to try not to talk about the usual things that is in every other 4Runner review. I'm sure there's going to be some overlap because you just can't help but talk about some of these things. But I think that, you know, especially my perspective coming from being a car owner and never owning an SUV or a truck, I think that, you know, some of my insights might be valuable if you're in kind of a similar situation and you're thinking about the 4Runner, and you also historically have just been a car owner. First of all, I said this in the last part of the video, but I really do think this is one of the best road trip vehicles you can buy. And the reason I say that, you know, stems from the fact that it's a Toyota. And with that, on average, you're just going to have a much more reliable, durable vehicle, and you can just pack on the miles without really thinking about it. Now, I realize I only have, you know, 18,000 plus miles on this thing, but it's more so about the peace of mind, you know, and it's especially important to have that peace of mind about reliability when you're doing very long or remote camping trips, when you're not really going to be around civilization, you know, and not have access to you know, emergency response or recovery or what have you. So like, I'll give you the classic example, which is going to Moab in Utah. Okay, a lot of you have probably seen countless videos about Moab and how awesome it is to go there and off-road and camp and everything, and that's totally true. But man, when you are doing off-roading or you're camping and you're way out there, you know, hour, 2, 3, 4 hours from town, in the middle of nowhere in the desert, you can't help but think about, like, oh shit, what would I do if the vehicle broke down or if I had a problem? And so that's something that you're always going to think about, no matter what kind of vehicle you have, no matter how reliable it is, because freak things can happen. But after having, you know, domestic vehicles and experienced domestic vehicles, I think that, you know, and also owning several Japanese vehicles, the biggest advantage to having a Toyota is you just have that extra peace of mind that it's gonna go the distance, and you're not gonna have like a lot of these random engine problems that plague other auto manufacturers. So a lot of how I feel about this vehicle stems from that. That was a big part of why I bought this thing in the first place. Is, you know, I historically have just been buying Japanese vehicles because of the reliability. And in the case of the vehicles, the cars, also the gas mileage. That isn't true for this vehicle, but that was always a reason to get foreign Japanese vehicles. So that's like a huge thing. And then to take it a step further beyond the reliability, it's just the fact that this is such a tried and true vehicle. You know, the drawback of this vehicle being dated is, you know, you don't get all the modern pleasantries, and it's not as competitive with some of these newer models in terms of gadgets and creature comforts. But the good part is, you know, that this engine is really tried and true, as is the suspension and the off-road system. It's really been put through the paces by the community, and, you know, they've kind of fleshed out a lot of the issues, and they have done slow improvements to this drivetrain and this engine over the many years of this 5th generation 4Runner, and also the generations before that. that's a huge thing, I think, in a road trip vehicle where you're going to put in a lot of miles. Also, in my kind of, I'll let that truck pass. In the type of road trips that I like, which is, remote camping, hopefully doing some off-roading, and having access to mountain bike trails, it's really just got everything you need. It's got all the cargo space, and it's got the off-road goodies that you would want. It's got the 4 low, the 4 high, the true all 4-wheel drive transfer case, and it's got the crawl control, it's got the rear locker. It's just a very capable machine, and so that gives you that little extra bit of confidence when you're going off-road or going to those further campsites. You trust in the vehicle, especially when you have the right tires on it. You feel that it's a very capable machine, and I think that's a huge advantage when you're doing these long road trips. Also, I just think it's pretty damn comfortable to drive. So the newer 4Runners, they have this Toyota Safety Sense, which is like their suite of safety features. It's not as advanced as Toyota offers, but it does have some of the cool features, including radar cruise control, which I'm using right now, where you just basically set your speed that you want to target, and that's it. It just keeps it. And if there's vehicles in front of you, it slows down. Once that vehicle gets out of the way, it speeds back up, and it's especially awesome on trips like this. You barely have to touch the pedal. It's not as cool as that fancy autonomous stuff in the Teslas and whatnot, but they're getting there. And I think this is a small but cool feature, especially for these long road trips. Next, having Sirius XM in the vehicle, that's a huge thing, because especially when you're in the mountains and you're in these remote areas, you're going to lose signal. You're going to lose cell signal, so you won't have access, to your awesome, Spotify playlist unless you downloaded everything. And so, yeah, having Sirius as an option, that's really cool, because you can keep the tunes rolling even when you lose cell signal. Now, the satellite signal can drop out too, but in my experience, it's a lot better overall than cell signal. So it's nice to have that for your music. And I love Howard Stern interviews too for these long road trips, so that's been really neat. And then again, I mentioned earlier, having the GPS in the truck is nice too, because again, if you lose cell signal, you can at least get directions back, even if the directions aren't the most optimal that you would get with Google Maps. At least you got some signal and you got directions if you're in a sketchy situation. Next, kind of along the same lines, having the